Hello, Concordia Irvine students. Welcome back to MHA 506, where we're looking at healthcare law. Dr. D, wow, can't believe we're in week 4 already. I want to thank you for all of the hard work that you've put in over the first 3 weeks of this course. This is a very challenging course, isn't it? And so I want to thank you all for the thoughtfulness of your case briefings, for the rigor of your, discussion board, uh, assignment, dialogue, if you will. And then over the last couple of weeks, you've now started to submit your project deliverables. So the contract and context part of it. And so then, later on, we've got part two of the milestone. But just thank you very much for all of the hard work. I know this is a challenging course, but it's a very timely course, isn't it? Considering all of the legal components of healthcare that we find in the modern health environment. And so then here we are right on cue on week 4, where we are talking about antitrust. And according to Cornell law, antitrust refers to the regulations of the concentration of economic power, particularly regarding trust and monopolies. And so antitrust laws exist both as federal statutes and state statutes. The three key federal statutes are the Sherman Act, the Clayton Act, and I think when you put those together, it's known as the Sherman Antitrust Act. And it delineates specific means of anti competitive contracts. It also deals with anti competitive in nature. And it also outlaws all type of anti competitive activity. Uh, Particularly, the Clayton Act regulates mergers and acquisitions of companies together with guidelines published by the Department of Justice. I think this may be timely when we look at the Optum Health Change Healthcare merger or suggested merger, where in this case, the federal government is pushing back big time because of those anti-competitive laws from the Clayton and the Sherman Clayton Antitrust Act. Excuse me. So both of these acts violations can include both criminal and civil enforcement. And the criminal penalties can be up to $1 million, and actually for individuals are up to $100 million or 10 years in prison. And so that's just a little preview of what we'll talk about this week when it comes to antitrust laws. Of course, you have your Christian message this week where you will reflect on the captivity of Judah to Babylon and write about how Daniel's identity both changed and stayed the same. Wonderful readings this week. And again, I encourage you before you start the discussion boards or the case briefings or the project milestones that you please do your reading. So, chapters 7 and chapters 9 of legal aspects of healthcare administration. There are videos that deal with antitrust coming from the Loyola University Law Journal. You've also got some videos from the New York Times as it relates to merger frenzies. You've also got a statement by the Federal Trade Commission, as well as a deeper dive into antitrust enforcement in healthcare. And so when we look at these antitrust laws, we look at and what judges and the federal government look at is, does this business practice, does this business transaction limit commerce? Does it put an unfair advantage in the hands of the people that are committing the merger and acquisitions? And more importantly, does it create a hardship or some type of a uh, just anti-competitive environment is the best I can say it, an anti-competitive environment for consumers. So if we look at Optum Health and their supposed suspected merger, excuse me, of Change Healthcare, even when that merger first went down, I thought that it was just. I'm not surprised that the federal government stepped in. From a business perspective, you can certainly understand why Optum Health would want to purchase Change Healthcare or merge, acquire Change Healthcare, because it gives them in the industry what we call vertical integration. And vertical integration is a wonderful thing when you are a competitive business trying to grow market share. However, in this case, because Change Healthcare has so many relationships with some of the leading healthcare providers out there, not only providers, payers, and hospitals. From an IT integration perspective, it would be impossible to have a single company such as Optum that has their hands in a lot of different components of healthcare to purchase Change Health. That would just create a nightmare for all of those customers of Change Healthcare that are competitors with Optum and United Health. So, if you're not familiar with that proposed merger and acquisition, I would suggest you do a little homework on that. And we'll probably end up talking about it in class on next week and probably give you a couple of videos to look at or maybe an article to look at. But it is the current uh, leading M&A in healthcare right now that's getting major pushback because of antitrust considerations. Your self-paced lesson is health plans, mega mergers. And I think we've started to see a lot more mergers in the healthcare space since passage of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, and because of high tech. And so we're starting, and also I should have said because of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, or Accountable Care Act, the ACA or the PPACA. That was the leading legislation that led to mergers and acquisitions in the healthcare space because it opened up healthcare insurance to some 30 million people that didn't have access to healthcare insurance. As a result of that, it expanded the healthcare industry into a more mature market compared to other industries. And what we see in mature markets from a business perspective is we see consolidation and efficiency in the form of mergers and acquisitions. So, since passage of the PPACA, we have started to see a rush of mergers and acquisitions and uh, uh, companies being dissolved in the space, other companies coming into the space. And this is a natural thing that we see in markets, in free markets. We never saw it in healthcare before because you had 50 million people before passage of the PPACA that didn't have access. So think about it. You've got a marketplace that has buyers and sellers, but in the healthcare market, you had sellers, i.e., providers, that wanted to provide services to buyers, i.e., patients that wanted the service, but the two couldn't connect with each other because of the missing component of healthcare. Anyway, getting back to week 4 here, in your discussion forum. There's some questions here that what are some of the big antitrust issues profiled in recent years? And then how do the lessons learned impact how organizations should write policies and procedures? Oh, very good one. Speaking of those policies and procedures, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I am working on a project right now with Pfizer that speaks directly to policies and procedures. And specifically, what we're doing with Pfizer is we're working with all of the markets. And when I say markets, I mean countries. And you can best believe that they have a presence in every country in the world. It is just truly amazing. And so, what I'm doing and what my team is doing is we're working with all of these markets to get their policies and procedures in a centralized repository called Policy Point. And Policy Point is a homegrown system from Pfizer. It's actually based on SharePoint for those of you that are familiar with that policy or with that uh, uh, application. And so, what these policies and procedures do is they are actually forged directly out of laws and statutes of individual countries, particularly as it relates to new drug development and clinical trials and all of that good stuff that goes along with. Biopharma business, if you will. And so I'm working with compliance people in every country across the globe in order to get their policies in centralized locations, which actually mitigates the risk of the corporate office when they have the ability and other markets have the ability to have all of their policies and procedures in a centralized place. So, good topic for a discussion board in a legal class there. You do have your case briefings there. Kogan versus Hartford Memorial Hospital, and that was a case back from 1994. Remember, the Blue Book citation is legal citation. APA doesn't necessarily apply here, even though perhaps on your project submissions you may have APA. But I'm saying all of that to say that the Blue Book citation is already there for you. So all you have to do is just copy and paste that entire hyperlink there, and that is technically your Blue Book citation. And then finally, here in week 4, submit your final contracts and context analysis on the discussion board. And please make sure that you've incorporated any feedback that I have provided for you in the earlier weeks of the course. Okay, I think that's about it for week 4. We don't have a live session this week. However, I am available for office hours if you'd like to connect with me. Um, just go ahead and log in after 6 p.m. I'll be on the line for about the first 30 minutes. And if I don't hear any from anyone, I'll log out. However, if you do log in, I get an email. So just wait for me and I'll quickly log back in. That's during the office hours session of week 4. Of course, if you can't make those sessions and you want to connect with me, just send me an email and we'll set up a one on one session. Or if you know you will attend that office hours, send me an email and let me know, and I'll make sure that I am on the line and waiting for you. Okay, thank you very much. I look forward to reading your discussion board postings, reading your case briefings, and also reading your contracts and context analysis. Thank you.